with the many things, life lessons, and one-liners I learned from Dave Jacobsma. When you have to consider tense while writing about a loved one, it's not an easy thing to do. And I know ahead of time I cannot do justice to what I want to express. He contributed so much to who I am. He will continue to, well beyond his passing, in my memories and in his influence. There were a lot of firsts with my grandfather. I caught my first fish with my grandfather, drove my first car, swung my first golf club, shot my first pistol, changed my first flat tire with him, just to name a few. I could continue on forever with examples like how I tasted my first beer with him and how he taught me to pick a bull out of the herd when we would fish in the Little Rock River outside of Dune, and to be sure to let him know if it was coming. Instead, I believe I should focus more on the type of person he was, as opposed to picking through his many accomplishments and the many things he has done for me. I could not do justice if I tried. He was a proud man, a powerful man, a man of faith, and meticulous in every aspect of his life, something he developed from his early years in the Army and the Korean War. Yet he maintained that standard for the entirety of his life. He carried himself in a way that differentiated himself from anyone else. When Dave Jacobsma was there, people knew it. Growing up, all my friends knew Grandpa Dave. They would all hang out when he was in town, often leeching a line or two to show off at school, and that continued from grade school to college and beyond. I think that says a lot about his personality. I honestly can't remember a single name of any of my friends' grandparents, and yet I have been receiving condolences from all across the country the last couple days, from the same friends as they learned of his passing. The man had a big heart. He loved his family. He loved his animals. He loved everything that would let him. I would often find it amusing growing up to see this big ex-military successful businessman secretly luring his dogs to the far corners of the house to sneak them bowls of ice cream while avoiding my grandmother's detection. He spent many a morning reading his paper in the lawn chair, surrounded by squirrels, birds, and an assortment of neighborhood animals for which he had shared his breakfast with, often literally right out of his hand. As his health and mind began to fail with age, he occasionally displayed symptoms of the old man in his yard with a shaking fist. I wonder how many of the passerbys would have ever thought that John Wayne of Dune had an office adorned with several decades' worth of Humane Society thank you calendars, a Smithsonian of the youthful artwork of his grandchildren, and literally hundreds of pictures of his family. I doubt they knew the capacity of his heart, or that he dedicated himself to filling the wants and needs of the ones he loved. I doubt they are aware that he would have dug out every blade of grass in that yard for an extra 5 minutes on the phone with his grandson. I bet the lives of those passerby would have been better had they taken the time to know him. I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. I remember getting excited as a child to go see him in Kansas City. I remember feeling that same feeling, even as an adult, as I would turn left off the Highway 75 and the map blip of Dune would come into visibility. That smile as he walked down the driveway to meet me, and that handshake that would have taken a weaker man to his knees. My week didn't feel complete without talking to him. Maybe I filled the hole in his life. Perhaps I was kind of like the son he didn't have, his outlet for all his testosterone-based knowledge that his daughters weren't susceptible to. Maybe it was because I was his namesake, his first grandchild. Maybe I wouldn't leave him alone when I was a kid and he took a shining to me. I don't know the exact reason that our relationship was unique. I don't have too many friends who would make weekly calls to their grandfather from his college dorm room or forgo a weekend in his early 20s and beyond to spend it at his grandparents' house. Regardless of the reason, I treasure those moments in his presence and love in my life. I remember the pride in his eyes when I graduated high school, when I enlisted, when I graduated college, and I will never forget it. I cannot express in words how it feels to know someone loves you so unconditionally. I've spoken weekly on the phone with my grandfather for 30 years. It was a part of my life, and everyone who knew me knew that. When Grandma passed away roughly 2 years ago and Grandpa entered what eventually became a memory care unit, the doctors recommended he not have a phone. That was much more difficult for me than I ever let on. Not being able to pick up the phone and hear his voice on the other end each week was life-altering. I thank my mother for spending so much time with him for a multitude of reasons, but one in particular was the ability to still occasionally speak with him on the phone in between my visits back to Iowa. I regret not being with him in his final hours, but find comfort in our last phone call together only days earlier. He inquired about my wife and my dog and how we were doing. He ended it by asking me if I needed anything. How fitting for his final words to me, how representative of his life. In his final hours, he wanted to know what he could do for me. I will forever cherish that this will be my last memory of his earthly body. They say you can't take anything when you leave. I disagree. I think you can take the only thing that matters in life, perhaps even the meaning of life itself, and that is love. We find strength in pain, and our tears will eventually be replaced by happy treasured memories of Big Grandpa Dave. Someday, I might be blessed enough to be a Big Grandpa Dave myself. Only those of us who share this loss, our loss, will know how truly big those shoes will be to fill. I say our loss because it is our loss, not his. His pain is gone, replaced by our shared pain. His mind is sharp, and he will be reunited with Grandma for eternity. For the last 2 years, I lost the ability to talk to my grandfather when I needed to. On January 29, 2011, I regained that ability. Love you, Grandpa, Dave.
Thank you, David. God bless you, David.